Hey everyone, I'm Brett Hogelbaum. We just recently had 4 murders of college students in Moscow, 17 miles away from my home. And in that time, a lot of fear has risen up in our community. One of the things I noticed right away within a couple of days is that people, friends of mine, family, extended family, and colleagues and associates have reached out to me asking me what I know about guns. These are people that have either had limited experience with firearms or don't have guns at all or have never seen them, never been around them at all. And they're asking me because they're afraid. So I want to talk a little bit about guns. My experience is different than yours, and there are scads of videos and tutorials and magazine articles and literature on firearms and safety and which gun is best for women and men and non-binary people and whatever. The bottom line is I have my experience, and that's what I'm going to share with you. My goal here is to hopefully provide my viewers with some insight onto the different types of firearms, the philosophy of firearms, carrying one, and safety. If you've never been around firearms, they are an awesome responsibility, and they are not to be taken lightly. So, follow along with me, and let's talk a little bit about firearms. There are things that we can do other than firearms to shore up our safety and security. One of those primary things is to lock your doors at home and lock your doors in your car. Pay attention to your surroundings. Too many people, I'm just as guilty, are looking at this phone all the time, and you miss things. And a predator is going to watch for that. It's a weakness. Pay attention. When you're coming out of the grocery store in those transitional spaces like gas stations and barbershops and shops and businesses and your home, your garage, pay attention to what's going on or who's there. Is there someone that doesn't belong? Is there something going on that isn't normal? Pay attention to your surroundings. Look around your vehicle before you get in. Don't do stupid things like going and getting gas in Houston, Texas at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just inviting trouble. Stay with a friend, stay with a buddy so you have a second set of eyeballs. Those are the kinds of things that, the vast, overwhelming majority of us are never going to have a defensive encounter where we have to use a firearm. It's just almost unheard of, but it does happen. So be ready for that. The other thing is you can carry a flashlight. A flashlight is an amazing tool. This one is 1800 lumens, and it will stun you. It'll stun someone that is giving you a hard time, and it's a fantastic way to get someone to leave you alone, or stun them long enough to get away. A flashlight, a nice bright flashlight. Pepper spray. Pepper spray is a temporary distraction for someone, and it takes the fight right out of them. If you've been sprayed with it, you know what I'm talking about. Just carrying a can of pepper spray, it's a little lipstick size thing, and you douse someone with that. And it just does a great job of giving them something else to think about while you run away. This is something you should research a little bit on your own too. There are so many defensive strategies that you can use, and defensive arts classes and martial arts classes that you can take, but none so as important as just paying attention to your surroundings. And don't be afraid to take care of yourself by crossing the street away from someone that looks sketchy. Just being polite can get a lot of people into trouble. I can say with confidence that there are more opinions about firearms and which gun you should carry than there are stars in the universe. I truly believe that. All I can say is that you have to carry a firearm, you have to use it and become proficient with it before you know if that's the gun you're comfortable carrying. In addition to that, you have to accept the responsibility of carrying and owning and possessing a firearm. It is not to be taken lightly. It is an enormous, enormous responsibility, because it can determine whether or not you or someone else lives to see another day. And there are some of you who probably have zero interest in carrying a firearm on their person every day, and that's fine. So they're asking, what do we have in our home to defend ourselves? Well, honestly, if that's what you're planning, in my personal opinion, you want a 12 gauge shotgun, preferably a pump shotgun. Sometimes I've heard just racking the action, cycling the action in this weapon will send most people with ill intent into flight. That is a cool sound. That's going to be the gun that most people are going to want in their bedroom by the nightstand, safely stored away from children. But that's what you're going to be able to grab in the middle of the night and do measurable damage to a bad guy without penetrating 5 walls of drywall into your kids' room. The second one that I would recommend for people who just want a home defense weapon around their property and their home and their land, AR-15. It's a 223. Lethal, accurate, capable of a large capacity magazine, and can be pretty reliable if it's taken care of and kept clean. Super good firearm, one of the most popular in the world, and hands down a great ranch gun, bad day rifle to have handy. There's a big stigma around it, but with 300 million guns in the United States, we have a pretty tiny problem with gun violence, all things considered, with the numbers. Way more problems with drunk drivers and fentanyl overdoses than AR-15s. Here's another shotgun. This is a 12 gauge semi-automatic shotgun on kind of an AR-ish platform. It's pretty gimmicky. I mean, it's okay. I don't like it myself because it's not reliable. I'm sure I've been told that once you put a few thousand rounds through it, it loosens up and becomes more reliable. I think it's just fun to shoot. It's a blast to do rapid fire of 12 gauge double aught buck at a row of pumpkins and watch them explode. Pretty fun. So let's talk about the gun. So me personally, I prefer to carry a larger weapon. Not huge, but I prefer to carry a decent sized firearm. I don't want a little subcompact tiny firearm. And it works out for me. I carry a Glock Model 19. This is a 9mm handgun and semi-automatic. And I have it in a Works holster. I have a TLR7 sub light on it. The cool thing about this light, I'm going to unload this really quick and render it safe because I want to point it at the camera. And I don't want to destroy my camera or kill it. So the Glock 19 holds 15 rounds in the magazine, and it holds 1 in the chamber. So I can carry 16 rounds of ammunition if I need to. Plus, if I have a separate one with extra ammunition, I can carry large amounts of ammunition if I need to. I'm not going to need to, but. And then I have a TLR7 sub by Streamlight, and that nice light can just blind that crap out of you. It also gives me the ability to identify my target. So if I have someone assaulting me or trying to do harm to me in the dark, I can see who they are first, make sure it's not someone being stupid and playing a practical joke. And then I can make my decision after that. I just really like this firearm. For men about my size, I'm about 5'11", 200 pounds, and I just really like this firearm. It isn't a beautiful firearm. It isn't a sexy firearm. It's just, it works. Every single time I pull the trigger, this thing fires. And I really want that. I don't want any kind of hokey, fancy $1,200 paperweight that looks shiny and pretty. I want my gun to fire. And just the Glock is just proven time and again worldwide to be a great combat firearm. So that's what I carry. That's my everyday carry. And if you don't know about Works holsters, oh man, we are so fortunate, in Potlatch at least, and right here in the Palouse, to have Works holsters. And they have lights too. They have lots and lots of weapon lights, and they have flashlights for your pocket too. They are experts on lighting and experts on light-bearing weapons holsters. You can't go wrong with them, and you should stop in and talk to them. They're fantastic guys. Talk to Shan there. talk to Jameson, any of those guys there would be happy to talk to you about holsters and even firearms. And I'm here to tell you they've got a lot more experience with firearms and defensive tactics than I do. So good place to, pick their brain, ask them questions. It works. The second one, this is the firearm that my wife has. She doesn't carry it all the time, but certainly when we're out in the woods or we're in a sketchy place where there's a real possibility of us needing to protect ourselves, then she carries this. This is the Glock 43X MOS, and it is narrower. It is a narrow little gun. It is a 9mm, though. It's a full 9mm projectile, and it's just narrower and lighter and shorter. So really good to fit in a lady's hand, and I just love it. It's also got a rail on the bottom, so you can put a weapon light on this as well. I think it's a TLR 6 or something like that. There are lots of different options out there, but look into it. And you can also put a red dot sight on the back of it, and it makes it easier to aim with. And that's great for someone who doesn't know how to aim, to help you with your game just a little bit. Same thing. Glock is tried and true, proven reliability. I would definitely trust my life with this firearm, and so that's why I got it for my wife. Another option in Glock, this is another Works holster. I love Works holsters. This one doesn't have a light. This is a Glock Model 26, and it is also a 9mm. Now, the cool thing about this gun is it's small and it's short, so it's super easy to conceal and hide on your person. A lot of police officers, I know I carried one when I was a cop, because it is also compatible. You're not going to believe this. It has this short little 10-round magazine. So Oregon, California, weirdos that only think you need 10 rounds to defend yourself. It will also accept a full-size magazine out of the Glock 19 and all other full-size Glock 9mm handguns. Their magazines will slip in here. So the reason I carried that as a backup for duty in law enforcement is if I got into a situation where I lost or damaged or disabled my primary weapon, I could switch to my backup and still use the magazines on my duty belt for my backup gun. And I could also get ammunition from one of my fellow law enforcement officers who also carried 9mm Glocks. We could trade magazines. It's a fantastic system, and I still highly support it. I don't particularly like this. This is a Gen 5. It doesn't have a tactical rail, so you can't put a light on it without kind of messing with it, but it is what it is. And it's a backup, so it's just fine the way it is. Great little firearm. Super, super reliable. Just as reliable as the full size, and you can trust your life with a Glock. And your Works holster. Next, I wouldn't recommend this as a personal defense weapon, but it is nice because it's lightweight and no recoil and pretty quiet. This is a 22. I wouldn't recommend a 22, but if you don't have any other option, then a 22 is okay, I guess. This is a Ruger SR22. This is a 22 caliber semi-automatic magazine-fed handgun, and super great for practicing the technique of firing. So if the only reason I have it is to practice defensive tactics and moving and shooting, the muscle memory part of things, the movement of shooting, the act of shooting, and lots of really tiny bullets that are inexpensive, and you can carry large quantities of them. So great for getting the basics down without blasting away thousands of rounds of highly expensive 9mm. So another possible option. I wouldn't recommend it for self-defense, but it's better than nothing. Another Glock 26 with a little bit of sexy color scheme. Not sure why my mom bought this. This is my mom's. She's a little crazy. And then we've got a nice, beautiful Kimber. This is a Kimber special 9mm. It's a 1911 style, and it holds 7 rounds in the magazine. This is 9mm, 7 rounds of 9mm, and you can also carry one in the pipe, in the chamber. Beautiful, beautiful firearm. It's part of my inheritance, and it's sad because I'm never going to carry a hideous teal firearm, but I guess she likes them, so great. Great little gun for ladies. It's a little heavy. It's a little difficult to pull back the action on it, so I wouldn't recommend it for ladies or small framed individuals who have a tough time having a lot of strength in their hands. This is in an Alien Gear concealable holster. This is a really nice holster that Alien Gear up in Post Falls makes. They are very good at making holsters for deep concealment. There's a metal plate inside of here that bends to your body. You can place this in the holster, and then you can put these around your belt or waistband, and then you can actually tuck a shirt over the top of this, and then it doesn't show up when you're carrying it concealed. Great way to be discreet. But when it comes to reliability for women, I really think that a revolver is really the way to go. This is a 38 special handgun, detective special. They make lots of different kinds. I actually prefer one without a hammer, an external hammer for ladies. It's for a number of reasons. You don't want to accidentally cock that when it's in your purse or your bag, because it could be a deadly situation. But for reliability and ease of use, there's no big slide to pull back. You load 6 rounds into it, close the magazine, close the cylinder. It's double action, so you can either cock it and fire it, or you can just pull the trigger and fire it. And it's going to go off every single time until it's empty. So that's a really good option for the ladies. I would recommend finding one without the external hammer for a couple of reasons. I actually went shooting, helping a gal who was learning some defensive shooting, and she tore her hands up, was bleeding all over the place, and she was a trooper. She stuck with it, and that's the gun she's got, so that's the gun she carries and is familiar with. But who cares if you cut your hand a few times in defense of your life? But that's what she carries, and I would recommend a hammerless one. So I have one here, and there are lots and lots of revolvers available for women. I have one here. This is a hammerless Ruger. I think it's an LCR, and so it's a 22, but they make this same firearm in 38 caliber, and that's what I would carry as a 38 caliber Ruger LCR. Great revolver. It's going to fire every single time you pull the trigger. This one's empty, so we'll just do that really quick. Just every single time you fire the trigger, it's going to go off. It's not as accurate, so this is a close-up weapon, 20 feet or so, and any more than that, you're not going to have a lot of luck. Every time you pull the trigger, that barrel is going to move because there's so much movement happening when you pull a trigger all the way back. These are just a few of the options out there. I wouldn't recommend just taking my word for it. I think you should talk to other people. But if you would like to, ask more questions about these, please do so in the comments. And if you want to fire one of these maybe and see how it feels, reach out to me and I'll set up a time. I'm going to be going out here to the range at Grizzly probably twice a month. And the fee to come out here and fire on our range is $50. I'd like to set up a group of 5 or 6 people at a time, so it's not just a waste of time for one person. So if you want to come out and fire your weapon at the Camp Grizzly shooting range, just reach out to me and give me a call and we'll set something up. Okay, that's all I have for now. Just remember there's a lot to carrying a firearm. Educate yourself a little bit more about it. Understand the awesome responsibility. And maybe I'll make a video in the next few days in a warmer location where I'm not freezing to death, kind of about the responsibility part of carrying a firearm, and when to shoot, when not to shoot, when to even point it at someone, when you should just run away, which you can do. Okay, that's all I have for now. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate it.